This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian. And
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey, this is Fox, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., and it is a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with the Black Rose, the Heartless Fox.
Hello.
Hi, how are you today?
I am doing well, and yourself?
I am as good as well. Could you tell us what you have coming up, event-wise?
Event-wise, well, by the time everybody listens to this, you guys can all check me out at Excite Wrestling at a big double header in upstate New York, April 13th in Horseheads, New York, and then April 14th in Binghamton, New York for the huge Battle for New York tournament that Excite Wrestling has every year.
All right. And where can we find you on social media?
Oh my goodness, everywhere. I try to make it easy for everyone. So everyone can follow me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and even Spotify at Viva Foxy Foxxy. That's VIVA FOXY FOXXY.
And merchandise?
Right now, merchandise is only sold at the shows that I'm currently on, but I am working on doing like the Shopify thing for Instagram and Facebook. But I mean, to anyone interested that comes to the shows, I have Black Rose knit beanie caps. I have Fox pins. I do temporary tattoos for the fans because I do work at a tattoo shop. Jewelry, stickers, 5x7s, and so much more coming.
All right. And you don't have to go looking for it. All of the links to all her social media will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. Alright, let's get into it. You started as Foxy, then you went to a Foxy Dream, then Foxy Foxxy, and now you are simply Fox.
Yes.
Can you tell us about the transition between Foxy Foxxy to just Fox?
Well, I took over the name Foxy Foxxy back in 2006. It was like a big transition from my look and my character to that. And I actually left wrestling from 2010 to 2022, actually. So when I returned as Foxy Foxxy because that's what everyone knew me as, but it didn't fit. Like, I didn't feel as comfortable with it as I used to because, you know, I'd grown up as a person, an individual, and I grew more in wrestling. You know, you grew older, you grow wiser, and it just didn't fit. And then I started working at the tattoo shop that I currently manage, and, you know, we all have monikers at the shop. And my boss just started calling me Fox, and it felt right. And then in looking what I was doing managerial wise in the wrestling companies I was with, it felt like it was a better name transition where it's just Fox, just mature, confident, again, older, wiser, a veteran I hate saying that about myself, but it's true. It seems like it fit so much better. And now with, you know, the look and my aesthetic and my attitude, managing Edge of Hope, it fits so much better with who I am.
Okay. Now, I mean, you mentioned that you left wrestling in 2010, came
Hmm.
back in 2022.
Hmm.
So what ultimately made you walk away from pro wrestling, and what ultimately brought you back?
Um, Walking away, it wasn't entirely my decision. The company I'd worked with just before I left, they were not very nice people, and they made me feel terrible about myself and the work that I was doing. They did not like me, not just in wrestling, but as a person, and they would make it very, very well known. Um, and I had gotten pregnant with my second son, so it was a matter of, do I want to come back after I have him? Do I not want to come back? But the way the company was treating me made it very easy for me to say, you know what, I'm done. And I just turned my back on it. And I said I was never going to go. Well, I didn't say never, actually. That's a lie. Because the cardinal rule is never say never. I didn't say never. But my thing was, I don't want to go back. I don't want to do this again. I still stay friends with a lot of the people I'd worked with. I've met so many people over the course of my time in wrestling, and I would always, cheer for their successes and support them. So come 2022, my friend Kaide Lothbrok started badgering me about coming back and managing him. And I'm like, no. And by the third time, I was like, screw it. Why not? I'll do one show a month. It's fine. And one thing led to another, and then we're working like 3-4 shows a month. And I'm like, oh, I'll only do this. I won't be doing this for long. And here I am. It's going to be 2 years since I've been back already. And so, yeah.
But if I could ask, it was, a long stint of time between, retiring and coming back. What made him kind of think of you at that time to say, like, hey, do you want to manage me? Like, was it kind of out of the blue?
To me, it was out of the blue. Because him and I, we always remained friends. I had worked with him back in Long Island in like the early 2000s. So we worked together briefly, and we always remained friends and would always talk. But I didn't ever think he would want a manager, because what he was doing didn't need one, and I'm very much one of those people where if you're good enough, you don't need one. And it was, for me, it was out of the blue where he just started asking me, hey, let's work together, let's manage, let's blah, blah, blah. But to him, he had been thinking about it for months in advance about working with me and bringing me back. So, I was shocked. I'm still shocked, actually, and I'm still doing this.
Well, 12 years, out of pro wrestling, what were some of the major changes you saw when you finally did come back to pro wrestling? Because, 2010, you're still looking at the Wild West days of pro wrestling.
So much changed. And I had seen it secondhand, I guess you could say, because, again, I was still friends with so many people in wrestling. So I was watching the changes and the evolution of things. But coming back into it, the first thing I noticed was the respect given to women these days in a locker room. When I came back, a lot of these guys didn't know me from a hole in the wall, but they still gave me that respect of, you're in the locker room, you're obviously working. Hi, nice to meet you. Because they're, back in the day, women did not get any respect. It didn't matter if you were a wrestler or a manager. It was just like, oh, there's a girl in the locker room, she's on the show, big whoop.
What?
So the respect was definitely the thing that changed the most. And personally, what changed a whole lot is the fact that these guys, along with the respect, they're open to listening to me and getting input from me. Whereas, a lot of guys back then, whether they were opponents or people I worked with, they were just like, yeah, whatever. She has an idea, whatever. She's not going to do a spot. I don't want to work with her. Now it's a completely different story. And it still amazes me when we're going over matches and they're like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, what? okay. Like it's a culture shock in a sense, because I started in 1998, so I was really used to the disrespect and being in a shadow when it came to, promoters putting me on a show with whomever. So it's still a bit of a culture shock. I'm still trying to get used to it all, but it's been amazing to see just how far, women have come in wrestling and earning the same respect as the level of the guys do.
Now, the one thing that I found really interesting about your story is, you've done pretty much everything you can do in pro wrestling. You've wrestled, you've managed, you've done referee, ring crew, etc. Usually people that get into wrestling do all of those jobs to become a wrestler. You did it to become a manager, but they ultimately made you a wrestler before you became a manager.
Yeah, I know. I did wrestle when I first started, and then I did it again full time for maybe about 6 months. But that was never like my passion. They threw me into being a wrestler because at that time you always needed at least one women's match on a show. It didn't matter if it was like a little fluff match or an evening gown match. Like they just needed something, to appeal to the male crowd. So yeah, I learned how to wrestle. I've done matches. Some were great, some were absolutely terrible. But the goal was always manager. And I was very ECW influenced by those women. So learning how to wrestle was almost like, yeah, sure, I'll learn, because I wanted to do what all of those women were doing. I wanted to take the bumps. I wanted to go through a table and get DDT'd and whatever. So learning how to wrestle, I guess, was just a natural progression. Being thrown into matches, I didn't think was going to happen, but it did. I don't ever really want to do it again unless it storyline calls for it, because I'm nowhere near the leagues of these women these days. I would not keep up for the life of me. But yeah, managing was always the passion. And, but in the same token, when first starting out, I would take anything they had to offer. They say, hey, you want a ref? Cool. You want to do this? Cool. I wanted to absorb as much as I possibly could in wrestling so that if I ever needed to do it, I could. But also it helped a lot when it came to being a manager, because now I know, ref positioning. I know more about what the ref's job is. I know, hey, this is how a ring is supposed to be set up. This board here shouldn't be here. I'm going to watch out for that. So doing all of those odds and ends really helps as a manager, because now you could take it all in and really put forth your absolute best work.
And you know how to pop the ref now as well.
Absolutely.
Well, never say never. You did, in fact, find yourself wrestling again. I believe it was last year.
Yeah.
Against Sawyer and Grizzly.
Mm.
What was that experience like, and taking that first bump back?
It's like riding a bike. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's so true, because they always say when you learn how to ride a bike, you never forget. And again, it'd been 12 years I'm out of wrestling, longer since I actually had a physical match. And as much as I wanted to try to get to a school and train beforehand for that match, there was no time for it. So I was absolutely terrified going into it. But it all came back to me so quickly and so easily. And not only that, but, when you're working with great people, it really, really helps, because, they were there to guide me if I needed it. They were there with those calming words before the match, and the amount of people that were in the behind the curtain when I was done it was astounding. I didn't know. Funny story about that. So I went into this match like it wasn't that big a deal. If I put too much pressure on it, I was going to freak myself out. But I was outside of the apron. I was outside of the ring ropes while Kaide was in there doing his part of the match. And I decided to look over, and everybody from the locker room was out watching the match, and I'm behind the ropes like, oh my God, if I screw something up, like the pressure all hit at that moment. I'm like, oh God, oh God, oh God. But it was so much fun. It absolutely was a blast. And that's why I'm still saying never, because if, again, if a storyline calls for it and I got to get back into the ring for another one, I will do it so long as I'm comfortable with everybody. And I kind of am looking forward to doing that. I'm just not, I'm not putting it out there that, hey, I'm going to do it. But if it comes to that, I'll be ready for it.
Okay. Now, looking at the match, your ring attire was very reminiscent to your very first ring attire. Was there any meaning or significance to what you chose to wrestle in that night?
Yeah, absolutely. The gear I wore was quite literally my first and only ever gear. And I contemplated not wearing it because, it was like, oh, well, that's Foxy. That's, 1999. That's old school. I don't want to do that. But everything that's happened to me and for me since coming back to wrestling has been almost like redemption for, my teenage self, my 20-year-old self. And at that point, I decided to wear the old gear as redemption to my younger self. Because, my younger self, again, she got thrown into a whole bunch of matches, evening gown, bra and panties match at the ripe old age of 18. And those things stuck with me where it's like I felt like I was, oh, it's Foxy, just get her a match, or oh, she's just TNA, we just need her on the show. So to be where I'm at that point last year with the match, it was very important to put on that old gear and kind of give, old Foxy that healing moment. And I still have the gear. I'm surprised I still fit in the gear, to be perfectly honest with you. It's been since 1999 till now. It was amazing.
And one of the biggest changes since you left pro wrestling is you are a mom. So what does it kind of mean to you to have your kids kind of know that mom wrestles and mom is in pro wrestling?
It's kind of awesome, actually. My oldest son, he would see some of it because he was around when I was still wrestling. Because I had my oldest son in 2005 when I was 23, so he was around for a while to see what I would do. My other two sons, they weren't yet, but when I went back into wrestling, like they knew I did it. They'd seen some old footage. My youngest, in fact, watched one of my old footage with me years back, and he went, oh, she looks like you. I'm like, oh, sweet summer child. You have no idea. So when I was going back into it, they were like, oh yeah, that's cool. But I don't think they fully grasped the concept until I started working with Excite Wrestling, because they live stream their shows on Twitch. So my kids were actually able to physically sit at my house in Jersey and watch mommy on TV and see what she would do. And it kind of floored them a little bit, especially with some of the stuff that I do. I don't tell them in advance what I'm doing. So, there's been moments where they're like, oh my God, is mommy okay? Or like they'll sit here cheering and I get photos sent to me of what they're doing. So that now they love it. They absolutely love it now. Anytime I do a show, they're like, is it going to be Twitch? Is the Twitch stream happening? I'm like, no, it's a different show. They don't have that. You got to wait for YouTube. But like they love it now. Like, and in watching Excite so much, they've grown to have their own roster favorites, and they're such fans of the guys that I call my friends. So that's a little bit weird. That's like, no, they're just my friends. Why are you such a fan? I don't understand. But yeah, they absolutely love it.
Now, since coming back, you mentioned you're an ECW fan. Can you tell us about that time you got to manage Tommy Dreamer?
Oh my God. So I mean, my biggest ECW influence was Beulah McGillicuddy, who, managed, then married Tommy Dreamer.
Right.
So Tommy and I have met. Like, we're no strangers. We've met back in the day when I was just starting out in wrestling and ECW was still a thing. We've been in locker rooms since I've returned. Not a big deal. But when I had to manage him, big deal. Huge deal for me. Not even going to lie. I kind of kept it to myself. Like, I didn't want to mark out or embarrass myself. But, I was ecstatic to be managing him. And then knowing, not beforehand, but literally just as the music was about to hit, that we were coming out to his entrance music of Man in the Box, I was freaking out in my own head. I'm like, oh my God, this is really a thing. This is happening. This is insane. And after working with him, that's when I finally was able to approach him and be like, look, your wife was my biggest influence. I adore her 2 pieces. Please tell her that if it wasn't for seeing her, I don't know if I'd be doing this now. And he did. And we're cool, we're friends, but working with him, totally different story. I can't help but, like I said, mark out a little bit, which I don't do unless it's a musician. Like, meeting other wrestlers it's one thing. I've met a lot of them. I'm fine with it. I'm very chill. Working with them, completely different story.
I mean, you did get involved in the match, and Tommy Dreamer actually handed you a Singapore cane.
Oh my God, I know. We didn't call for any of that, so when he did it, the beaming smile on my face in the photos that were captured was all real. I'm like, you're giving me the Singapore cane. Oh, thank you. Like, I was like a child. I was like a child. Best memory I've had.
And shout out to Dante Draco, who was also in that match as well.
Absolutely, Drago's the best.
Quite literally, the best.
Yes.
Yes, Draco's a friend of the show.
Nice.
Keeping up on, other people you managed, back in the day you managed Mikey Lothbrok, right?
Yes, I did. I managed him in NYWC in Long Island. We were part of a little faction known as the Black Circle with not known by that name then, Kaide Lothbrok, who I started working with, who brought me back to wrestling. But yeah, we were all in a little faction back then. It was a weird little emo thing. I didn't understand it.
What was your relationship with Mikey?
I mean, he was always one of those people that you would watch on TV and you're like, wow, he's a psycho. And you don't think that in meeting him, he would be the same exact way, but no, he's a psycho. He's like a cool psycho. Like, it takes a little while for him to warm up to people, but justifiably so, because, when you've been where he's been, you're always a little weary of others getting into your circle. But no, he was awesome to be around, insane to work with, because you never knew what he was going to do. So it was always a surprise to everybody when you just look over and you're like, oh, Mikey's grabbing a garbage can. Okay, cool. No, he was really cool. Very, very cool person.
And I would be remiss if I didn't ask about your time in the NYWC. Could you tell us about your time there?
Yeah. So I believe I worked with NYWC from 2003 to maybe about 2009, 2008-ish. It used to be one of my home feds. Like, I would always be happy to go there because I loved everybody in that locker room. It was very family oriented. Everybody knew each other. Everybody would go out for drinks, look out for each other. And a lot of the stuff that I did there, I'm really proud of, because it sounds so horrible to say it this way, but social media was just coming up. So I was able to manipulate the crowd and the fans a lot with social media since it had just come out, because the biggest example, I was doing an angle with my husband and my best friend at the time there. And it was one of those things where, I was married. We had just had our first kid. We're like, these people are not going to hate me. We got to do something that's going to make them hate me. So, we did an angle where, I made out with my best friend in the middle of the ring and blah, blah, blah. But to take it a step further, I completely manipulated my MySpace account so that all these fans that loved and adored me and my family hated me because they thought like we were getting divorced and that I was really with this other guy and blah, blah, blah. And it was one of my proudest achievements, because these days you cannot manipulate social media for the life of you. Everybody finds out everything, or a secret this and dirt sheet that and blah, blah, blah. So being able to like fake out the crowd as much as I did to get that ECW style heat, which I completely did, was amazing.
That being said, what are the advantages and disadvantages of being in the same profession as your significant other?
The advantages are definitely that you understand each other, because, prior to, obviously, I was younger, I had dated guys outside of wrestling, and while they were fans of wrestling, they didn't really get it. Like, they didn't understand why I was so upset about a match going wrong when in their eyes it looked completely fine. They didn't understand, why are you traveling so far for so little, money, or so little footage, or so little this. And it's like, it's about passion. Like, being with someone in wrestling, they understand the passion of it. Disadvantages, there weren't many. The only disadvantage really came when we had our first son, because it was a matter of shit, we really can't work together because, we can't bring our son with us. Someone has to watch our son. And it became more of a time management problem, where we would have to be on separate shows, or if we brought our son to the show, we would have to be on completely separate times so that somebody could stay with him in the locker room, even though, we were able to trust everybody in the locker room. As a parent, you want to be with your own kid. So that was the main disadvantage of it. I haven't really encountered any other disadvantages of it, because, it was just me and my husband, and that was it. I can imagine for the other people in wrestling, it'd be like, if you guys broke up, that would really suck to be in the locker room at the same time. But I can't, like, that's not something that I can speak on. So, yeah.
All right. Now, and I do bring up NYWC because my co-host actually trained there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe he was actually getting in just when you were getting out. So, yeah. Always have to ask about NYWC. Now, like I mentioned, you started in pro wrestling in the Wild West days.
Yeah.
Especially for women. The bra and panty matches, the evening gown matches, and you even took part in a bikini contest that you lost to a guy.
Yes.
Can you tell us about losing the bikini contest to Joe Rules?
Well, to know Joe Rules is to love Joe Rules. So, you can't be too upset about losing to him. But, yeah, no, that was completely sprung on me. Like, the whole, even just being in a bikini contest, like, I had no idea that was going to even be a thing. I had to borrow one of my other girlfriends at the show, one of her bikinis, because I had no clue. I honestly would not have done it had I known it was going to happen, because I'm like, again, I was 18. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm a kid. But, having it be, in the gimmick style, where it was like, okay, well, Joe Rules is going to come out and win, that made it a little bit more fun to me, because it was like, all right, this isn't something I got to take myself seriously in. I don't even have to be out here long. This is totally fine.
Well, I imagine it's imaged blunt in your mind, Joe Rule.
Yeah, that was interesting to see, though. That was very interesting to see.
Yeah. A bizarre adventure, to say the least.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Which brings us to our next segment, and that is Fox's Bizarre Adventure. You're in
Oh
the
boy.
world of pro wrestling and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are about to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Oh boy. A road story that fits that description. Okay, so many years ago, um, after NYWC, myself, my husband, and our little clique of friends that were also in wrestling, we would often travel up to Rhode Island to work for a company called PWF. So one night we decided to do the same exact thing. Traveled right from Long Island, took it all the way to Rhode Island. And when we get to Rhode Island, of course, it's like 2 in the morning, maybe 3, and we couldn't get a place to stay. It was 12 degrees outside, and we had nowhere to stay. So we decide, well, there's the venue. We're going to just park in the lot across the street from the venue and sleep in the car. Not a big deal. It eventually went down to 2 degrees, to which we have this ongoing joke in my house that there's a difference between 2 degrees and 12 degrees, because 12 degrees is way warmer than 2. But, eventually sleep does come, only to be awoken by the wonderful sounds of a chainsaw in the middle of Rhode Island. And as a horror fan, I freak out. I love my horror. I love my horror movies. So, of course, I'm dead asleep in 2-degree weather, and the first thing you hear is a chainsaw. You're going to freak out. So, needless to say, we woke up in a state of wonder and panic and delirium. And that's when we're like, oh, it's 12 degrees again. It's so warm. Let's go outside. And, then decided to get some coffee and do the wrestling show somehow.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my Texas Chainsaw Massacre in Rhode Island story.
It's definitely a chilling adventure.
Yes, to say the very least.
Alright. Can you tell us about your love of Assassin's Creed?
Oh my god. Do we have enough time?
I got all day.
Assassin's Creed. So, the love for Assassin's Creed originally started with Black Flag. I really wanted to play just Black Flag. But I have OCD. And I'm like, if I have to play Black Flag, which is part 4, I need to start from the beginning. I can't just jump into part 4. Right. So I decide I'm going to go out and buy Assassin's Creed 1 for $20. And I can't even tell you how long and late up in the morning I would stay playing that game to its completion, to like literally 100% achievement completion. And I got finished with the first one, and I was obsessed. I went up the next day to GameStop and bought part 2 and Brotherhood and Revelations, and finished the next 3 in a matter of a month. Went into part 3 and absolutely hated it, but I finished it. Finally went to Black Flag. I'm like, oh, this game is great. It's not going to get better than this. Pirates and assassins. This is wonderful. And then Odyssey came out many years later. Yes. And oh my god, that is my favorite Assassin's Creed game in the entire history of Assassin's Creed. It renewed my love for the franchise all over again. And then Valhalla comes out. I'm like, oh, this is okay. But then as I got more and more into it, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I still have yet to play the latest one, Mirage. I'm not going to lie. But, oh my God. Assassin's Creed renewed my love for video games. Because there was a while where I hadn't played a video game in a very long time. And as much as I love Dragon Age, like that's one of my number one games, there's such a lull in between the games that it's really hard to keep up the fandom for it. Like Dreadwolf, who knows when that one's coming out. But Assassin's Creed, oh my God. I ended up becoming so obsessed that I have all of the novelizations of the video games. I have the Funkos, the minifigures. I named one of my cats Evie after the girl character from Assassin's Creed Syndicate. And all my girl cats have video game character names. So yeah, it became an obsession. It's an obsession.
you mentioned that you played part 1 to completion.
Hmm.
Having done the same thing, how difficult was it to get all of the flags?
That was the worst part.
Yeah.
That was driving me insane because I was at the final achievement was to find like one more flag. I'm like, I've done this a million times. Where is this last flag? I ended up I had to YouTube it. Like, and I'm very against cheat codes and, looking up walkthroughs and playthroughs. Like, if I will only do it if I'm absolutely stuck. For that one, I checked on YouTube. I'm like, oh, that's where it is. So it ended up being so anticlimactic because I had to cheat to find out where it was. But, I mean, it was the first game I did that with where it was 100% achievement completion. So I was kind of proud.
Well, I won't lie. I used for simply just the flags. Yeah, I needed the help, and
Absolutely.
The maps weren't exactly complete. Like, so you would go in that place where it was, but it wasn't actually there, and oh my god, so frustrating.
Mm-hmm. I kind of miss that part of like the games though, of the collecting certain items. Because I'm one of those, I'm one of those, you play a game, you got to look at every single thing, collect every single thing. And even if it isn't achievement based, it's just that satisfaction of, oh, right, I got 10 out of 10. Cool. So I miss those elements of video games sometimes.
That's definitely something that, that kind of gone lost in the last couple of years when it comes to video games.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what makes them shorter these days, too. Because like, it's all those extra side things that add to the longevity of the game. And like now with so much focus on multiplayer, like they only make like an X amount an hour storyline game, but no extra side quests to do. It's like no replayability factor. Right. I'm sorry, I could talk about video games for a while. I'm sorry.
But I mean, like Odyssey, like you could play that for like tens of thousands of hours and still there would be tens of thousands of hours of things to do.
Exactly.
Like it never ended.
It's so true. That's exactly true. And like when I want to play a game, I want to be immersed for that long. Like Dragon Age Inquisition, I played for I don't even know how long because I wanted all completion, all these side quests, any little thing I could do, I did, and that lasted me for months. But then there's a game like, for example, one of the Gears of Wars I bought for my husband years ago, and he finished the damn game in a day because it was only like 6 hours worth of storyline.
Oh, yeah.
And nothing extra. And it's like, wow, $60 for that. Cool. Awesome.
Because like you said, the time is spent more on multiplayer than the actual story.
Yeah, it's like if I want to play with other people, I'll just have them come over. I don't want to play with strangers over the internet. That sounds so bad to say. I don't like. I've tried multiplayer. I absolutely hate it. I can't do it.
I mean, multiplayer could be fun, but when you want the story, you want the story.
Exactly. Yes, I like multiplayer with the fighting games, like Mortal Kombat and all that. Yeah, cool. Let's fight. But if it's one of those things where you got to team up with other people to do, no.
And I do have Assassin's Creed Mirage. I haven't played it yet. So fingers crossed that one's good because I played a little bit of Valhalla, but my main problem with Valhalla was a Viking is the exact opposite of an assassin.
Yeah.
So it was hard to get immersed in that experience when you know that there's not something quite right with this.
That's the thing. As a game, it was a good game, but to label it an Assassin's Creed game, that's where it fell kind of flat.
I completely understand that.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. All right. Now, can you tell us your love of Sheetz?
Okay. Well, so I'm from Jersey. That is very important. Because where I'm in Jersey, we didn't even get a Wawa until at least like maybe 5 years ago. So in starting wrestling again, I would ask Kaide, hey, can we stop at like a 7-Eleven or a Wawa on the way home? And he's like, no, we'll stop at Sheetz. I'm like, what's a Sheetz? So of course he's like, oh, this is the greatest thing known to mankind. You'll see. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then we go to Sheetz, and it was like walking through heaven's gates. Like the food options, and then the food was amazing. And they have amazing mirrors in the ladies' bathrooms for selfies, I've come to learn. But it's become such a thing where after every Excite show on the way home, we have to stop at a very particular Sheetz because they make very particular food. And it is my treat to myself after every show because it's just glorious. A lot of people will go, oh, I want to sit down and eat a meal at like Waffle House. And that's absolutely fine. I have Sheetz. And now that I know what a Sheetz is, I will never look back. I have petitioned for Sheetz to come to Jersey at this point. Wawa just doesn't hit right after you've had Sheetz.
Well, I mean, you mentioned, there's particular food that you want at this particular Sheetz. You can't just leave us hanging like that.
Oh.
What are you eating?
Okay, so I am one of those people that, I do, diet, and I do look after my health and all of that boring stuff, because after a while it is very boring, and I meal prep and blah, blah, blah. So when you go to Sheetz, you have to order the burger. Like, you make it like you would almost make a Whopper in a sense. You get everything that you would get at a McDonald's, but, it's a Sheetz burger, so it's going to be way better, and it's awesome, and it's juicy, and then you get a side of the pickle fries, which have just become a thing because before that they had the pickle coins, but they discontinued those, and now there's pickle fries. And their curly fries are to die for because not only that, they always sneak in one regular French fry to make you want to buy French fries, which you do. You have to at that point. And it's just the most glorious thing. Like, I've had burgers before. I love Burger King, but a Sheetz burger is it. Maybe it's because I don't treat myself to those things. Maybe it's because on show days I try not to eat so heavy until after the show. Whatever it is, that Sheetz burger is miraculous and just the best thing I've ever eaten in the world.
Oh.
It's the little things.
I can't necessarily say I relate because I'm in California and we don't have Sheetz or Wawas or those places here.
See, this is why you need to come to the East Coast for just like a weekend. Just visit all the Wawas and all the Sheetz. Kind of like Adam Richman from Man vs. Food. Just go to the one state, try the food, go back.
I love the reference.
Thank you. I love that show. So that used to be one of my goals, was to visit some of the places he would eat at if I was ever to go on a road trip to those states.
And you could watch the show, and you found the pattern of what he could eat and what he couldn't eat. If there was a lot of bread in the in whatever he was eating, he was probably not going to make it.
Exactly, I know. So like it would always become can he finish this? I don't think he can finish this. There's this, and this, and that's gonna be too spicy. His spice level. Oh yeah, it's Food Network's one of my favorite channels.
Alright. Now, can you tell us about your love of tattoos? You recently made it into the Ink magazine competition, no?
Yes, I have. I've always had a love for tattoos because my father had just one tattoo, but I was obsessed with it since I was a kid. And I always knew I wanted a tattoo as I had gotten older. But, in between that time, waiting for the tattoo, I wanted to know about, tattoo culture and tattoo trends and everything. So I absorbed as much as I could until I got my first tattoo, which I should have gotten at 18, but I decided I couldn't wait and I got it at 17 instead without my mother knowing. Don't do that, kids. So, of course, when I got my first one, I'm like, this is the only one I've wanted. This is the one I've wanted for so long. I don't need to get any more. That's a lie. When you get one, you can't just get one. You want more. So over the course of the time from 18 years old till now, I've just been collecting tattoos. And then this past year, just before the match that I had with Pat and Grizz, I finally had decided, all right, I'm going to get my arm sleeve that I've wanted for years, but just kept chickening out or couldn't figure out what I wanted. So I went to a tattoo shop that's local to where I live, and I started working on my arm sleeve. The arm sleeve took from January to April. And, you know, me, my husband, my mom, we all became pretty cool with the tattoo artist there, like very family oriented over there. So we became casual friends. And then one magical, mysterious day in June, the tattoo artist decides to message me on Instagram randomly, like, hey, what are you doing? Like, nothing. Do you want to come in for a job interview? I'm like, what? Yeah, I'll be there in an hour. And they had opened up a position for a tattoo manager for the shop months in advance. And I was like, I wish I could do this. I would love to do this. And he knew, but I never went forth with it. Apparently that must have stuck in his head because they were interviewing people, but they couldn't find the right fit. And they were just like, we're just going to call Fox. It's fine. And 2 days later, I started working there. And I've been working there ever since. And it is, I want to say a dream job, because to be around so much creativity and so much talent, and already going in there with so much tattoo knowledge without being an artist myself, it's greatly helped. And I love working there so much. I've gotten so many more tattoos since working there, mostly because I have money now because I have a job. And it was around October or November where I saw that Inked magazine was hosting a CoverGirl contest. And I've frequented Ink magazine before, and I have some old issues of theirs. I'm like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen? They're going to say no? That's fine. Not a big deal. And I got notified in December that I was accepted into the competition, which freaked me out. And when the competition officially started, that's when I started putting it out there to social media, because it relies on daily votes to keep you in the competition. So it started with a group just for my region. And it started with 60 girls. And then it went down to 25. And now we're in the top 15. And the top 10 starts on Thursday. Somehow or another, I'm in the top 15. I did not expect that. I don't have the most self-confidence or self-esteem, despite, what I put out there on social media. Like, I'm very in my head all the time when it comes to stuff. So it's been mind-boggling, to say the least, that right now I'm in the top 15 of my group's region. Because once it hits top 10, top 5, then I think maybe top 3, it goes to the national level. And if I get to the national level, I might have an aneurysm. So, I mean, and the thing with it is, like, there are so many people that have been hitting me up, telling me, oh, it's a scam, you shouldn't do it. But then I've seen winners talk about it, on TikTok. So I don't know sometimes who to believe. I'm not sure if it is a scam, if it isn't a scam. They haven't asked me for money. I haven't asked other people for money. So again, I don't know if it's a scam or not. All I know is that right now I am in the top 15 and it's working. So I'm going to keep going with this until I'm out, if I'm ever out. Hopefully do I want to win? Absolutely. Like, I absolutely want to win, but I'm not putting all my eggs into the baskets of winning. Just being accepted into the competition was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. And, escalating to each top, whatever it is they put out, has been amazing. And just to say that I did it, because, it could be something, it could be nothing, but it was something I did, and I could say that I did, and I'm just happy with that alone,
Yeah, hell yeah. And you mentioned, the tattoo parlor, just contacting you out of the blue. I mean, it's kind of serendipitous. All these people are kind of messaging you out of the blue, no?
You know what? It absolutely is, because I've thought about that often. And what's even stranger, but like I say strange in a good way, is that when I started working at the shop, there were so many occurrences that made me go, yeah, I'm supposed to be here, because I don't believe in coincidence. There's no such thing as coincidence. There's destiny, and it leads to your fate. And when I started working at the shop and talking more with all of the tattoo artists there, I had realized we all had these, like, those 9 degrees of Kevin Bacon moments. My boss, my main boss, his wife, I knew when she was a child and I was a teenager. Her mother and I used to be best friends, and I had no idea.
Wow.
Another one of the tattoo artists there, his uncle lives 3 blocks from my house, and he would always be at his uncle's house during parties, and I would walk past all the time, and we'd probably cross each other's paths, but we had no idea. Our kids all go to the same schools, and we had no idea. It was all these just strange occurrences. I'm like, wow, okay, we're all meant to be here in this moment. And I mean, I told them they're stuck with me as the manager until the lease runs out, so they're stuck with me. But like, that's how those are little things that I know that I'm on like the right path with things, especially with wrestling. Kaide popping up and it's like, hey, I would love to work with you, I want you to manage me. And then coming back into these places where I didn't know these wrestlers on the roster. Like, personally, I only knew them via Facebook, but they knew me. They knew of me and my work. And, oh, so-and-so knows who my husband is. And, oh, you've seen me wrestle back in the day. I'm sorry. Like, there were all these connections going on where it's like, okay, this is right. This is where it's supposed to be. This is where I'm going. This is fine. This is right.
Oh, I gotcha. Continuing on, tattoos. What is one of the tattoos that maybe has personal or significance meanings to you?
I mean, technically they all do. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I have band logos on me because I'm such a music obsessed person. Like, music is my love language. So like, when a certain band hits the feels a certain way, or like has been influential in like how I grew up, like I'll get their logo tattooed on me. And just the general art. But the most significant one is throwing it back to my dad's tattoo. It's like I mentioned before, my dad had one single tattoo on him. It was like a Chinese wise man outline. And that's what began my obsession with tattoos. And when he passed away, my first thought was, I need to get his tattoo on me. So I was able to draw it up exactly like he had it. And maybe 3-4 days after his funeral, I went to Long Island to my girl. I'm like, you got to tattoo this on me right now. So I got it, my mom got it, and my brother got it. So out of all like the super cool things that I have and had done, like that's the most important one to me.
That's actually really awesome. And it's a family thing now. Well.
Mm-hmm. It became like a sigil almost,
Yeah. And what are your future plans for New Ink?
Well, in about 2 to 3 weeks from now, I'm gonna get my other arm started. It's gonna be like just strictly black and gray horror icons on my right arm. So that's going to be the absolute next one. So then we're going to have a little bit of a Ghostface, some Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, maybe some Elvira going on, because I'm old school horror fan. So I got to the point where I'm like, I think I know how I want to incorporate that now. So now I'm going to start the other arm and go up from there. I have so many different ideas. And now that I actually have access to a great tattoo shop, as well as, again, money, because I work now, it's like, now it's all so much more feasible. It's like, where do I start? But the arm is definitely going to be started up within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
So what's your favorite scary movie?
Aha! I love that. Honestly, do you want a real answer? Because I can get real specific.
Yeah, sure.
Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. and Halloween Ends, which is very controversial. And I know probably people are gonna like hit me up on social media, like, you like that one? Yes, I like Halloween Ends. Thank you.
All right. Foxy being like turning heel on us.
Just a little bit.
All right. You mentioned music, your love of music. You actually made a song, "Book Me Maybe."
Oh my God, I did. I did.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so years ago, via Blog Talk Radio, my husband and I had a podcast on there called Nerd Herders, and I forgot how it had come up. Oh no, I do remember. So, "Call Me Maybe" had just come out as a single. And on YouTube, there were so many different parodies of the song, like so many different parodies. And somehow or another, it came up where, hey, there's not a wrestling parody about this. You should make one. I'm like, challenge accepted. So, I rewrote all the lyrics to portray it as being from an indie wrestling perspective. And that was fine. But then came the part where it was like, oh no, I got to sing it and record it for people, which is terrifying because I only do karaoke when I'm drunk. So we recorded it and we put it up on YouTube. And for when it came out, it kind of went viral. Like, viral for today's standard is completely different. But like back then, it went kind of viral, and it was shared all across like the independent wrestling world and was being quoted. And it was insane, to the point where people will still quote it to me now. And I've had people say, you need to do an updated version of it, which I've contemplated. But yeah, that's how that came about. But it stuck so well too, because like the song came on the radio the other day, and I can't sing the normal song the way it's intended. Like, I immediately go to my version and start singing along to my version. So it sticks. It's like an earworm.
All right. Well, that's a great segue into the colossal question. Let's say that they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
I love this question so much. So much. Okay, so first track on my movie soundtrack, it would be Fire Woman by The Cult, because that was my very first entrance music. But also, like, lyrically, it comes from, growing up in the 80s and the love of hair metal, into like wrestling and becoming like, growing up in flames and stuff. So that's track 1. Okay. Track 2. Interesting. Track 2, I would go with, okay, I'm gonna pull up my Spotify real quick, because this is an important question, because like I said, music is my thing. I could talk about music longer than I could talk about video games. All right, so we started with Firewoman. Track 2 is going to be Supposed to Be by Icon for Hire. Because lyrically, it's very much about, she's talking about the music business, but could easily be about doing anything you're passionate about in life, and talking about who am I supposed to be while I'm doing this? Am I supposed to be this person? Am I supposed to be this person? And if I leave, who am I if I left? Which actually was a big thing when I did leave, like, because wrestling was such a huge part of my life that when I did leave, it was really hard for me to find myself without being a wrestler.
Right.
So that would definitely be track 2. Track 3. Track 3 Let's go with some new metal. I'm gonna go with "The Way You Like It" by Edema because it has that whole vibe of, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing what I love. Screw you, screw what you think. And the most poignant lyric being, sometimes no one remembers the days when they were young and stupid. It's like you have to remember the days when you were young and stupid. So, yeah, those are my three.
Do you lock it in?
Yes.
All right, we are locked in.
I love that question so much. You have no idea. I love that.
Now that we have the soundtrack down, then we write the script, and then we go to casting. Who plays Fox? And you can't say yourself because you are legally obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
Oh, okay. So who can play Fox? Natalie Dormer.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially when she had the side shave going on. Because I think she did that for Hunger Games, but I've never seen that. I only know her from Game of Thrones. Plus, she's gorgeous. So Natalie Dormer, definitely.
All right. Now, every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be three people significant to you in your story that would be in your movie, and who would play them?
Okay, so the first one's super easy. The first one, it would be my husband, because remember, he was also in wrestling, so casting, Damian Dragon. He would totally be played by Jason Statham.
Okay.
Totally, 110%. All right, let's see. Another character. Oh my God, this one's hard because I got two more supporting characters you said?
Yes.
Oh boy. Okay. There's so many important people that played a role in my life.
But you could name more if you'd like.
All right. All right, so I'm gonna have to go with my old buddy Ken Scampy from NYWC.
Okay.
And he would be played by Ryan Reynolds because the humor is exactly the same. It's not even a look thing. It's just the humor and the timing when it comes to jokes, exactly the same. I'll have to go with Kaide, definitely, because again, without him, I wouldn't be back in wrestling now. To play him, this one's gonna be hard because if he listens to this and I say something else, he's gonna yell at me so much. Okay, so just for argument's sake, because he is a huge Thor fan, I would go with Chris Hemsworth, but Chris Hemsworth as Thor. He's got to be in full-on Thor, Love and Thunder. He's got to be just like that.
Okay.
And just adding one more because right now it's a huge sausage fest. We'll go with my girlfriend Brooke. She's currently a ringside photographer and actually ring announcer for Outlaw Wrestling, but she used to be a wrestler for a while. So for Brooke, I'm going to go with Nev Campbell because of Brooke's ever present love for Scream just as much as me.
Okay. And we got a blockbuster cast, definitely sounding like a blockbuster picture, and you could pre-order the tickets now.
Woohoo! That was so cool.
Alright. Now, you are a fox, but you identify as Twilight Sparkle?
I do. I absolutely do. There was such a I don't know what happened, but My Little Pony came out, and I just kind of dove headfirst into the fandom. I can't tell you the amount of money I spent on those blind bags just for a specific pony. It was bad. But I mean, it made the most sense. Twilight Sparkle is a huge book reader. I'm a huge book reader. She's very awkward and socially inept. I'm very awkward and socially inept. Purple and pink hair. I did that once. It just makes sense.
All right. That being said, I have to ask this.
Mhm.
What does the fox say?
The fox. The fox says, embrace the chaos. That's what the fox says.
Oh, yeah.
And anytime she hears the word Jersey, the fox says, woo. That's not even a lie. I do that.
Then on to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
Okay, no, see, this is a loaded question, but there's an explanation to this.
Okay.
Yes, but only if the pineapple on the pizza is with a little bit of ham and it's with ricotta cheese, no marinara. Pineapple and a marinara sauce pizza, terrible. But pineapple with the ricotta cheese and the regular cheese, lovely.
Okay. So, kind of sort of pro pineapple.
Yes.
But conditions have to be met.
Yes, there are terms and conditions to that.
Okay. What's your spirit Pokemon?
Psyduck. Forever and always Psyduck.
Okay. Now, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for THUG? THUG.
I actually don't.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail. Because a Doug can't spell.
Oh my god, I love that.
Yes, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show, trying to keep the memory alive.
Always. Agreed.
This question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview. Would you ever consider managing a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical Rock.
Like Rocco the Rock, Zoe's best friend on Sesame Street?
No, an act like just a plain physical rock, like the mineral. It's about the size of a shoe, I would say.
You know what? Hey, yeah, I'd make that rock look good. Hell yeah.
Alright. Well, just for context, there is a wrestler named Psycho Mike that wrestled an actual Rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Huh. I would have gotten that Rock so over. I would have gotten him so much heat. I could have totally done it. I'd do it.
And it would have worked because he did actually win the match. The Rock did.
See?
Yeah.
See? Look at that. He totally rocked it. I'm a huge fan of dad jokes. You have no idea.
On a more serious note, what do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh boy. That is so hard to say because if someone asked me that 5 years ago, I would not have said back in wrestling or even working at a tattoo shop or anything. 5 years from now, well, still working at the tattoo shop because, like I said, they're stuck with me till the lease is up, and the lease is up in 10 years.
Okay.
So I'm still there. Otherwise, I don't know. Whether or not I'm still wrestling will be up in the air. Probably not. I'll be 47 by that time. Yes, listeners, I am very old. I honestly don't know, but so long as I'm happy, it really doesn't matter where I'm at, you know?
Oh yeah. And is there a match, a segment, something on the YouTube world that best shows off what Fox is all about that we could check out?
Oof. I would mostly the match that I did last year with Kaide against Pat Sawyer and Grizzly Olson, because it was, the pinnacle of me. Anything prior to that, while some of it's available on YouTube, it's not even half of what I had done wrestling wise. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that I did predates, video recording and digital footage. So it's one of those tree falling in the woods things. Unless you were there to see it, you have no idea it fell.
Oh, yeah.
So, if for anything, I would say my match last year with Pat and Grizz.
Can we find that on YouTube?
Yes, actually. Oh my God, I have a YouTube. Holy crap, I forgot about that. I totally have a YouTube channel. Yes, it's I'm pulling it up now so I can remember what my thingy is. It's at Viva Foxy Foxxy, VIVA FOXY FOXXY. There's an entire playlist I have created of videos featuring myself that I've liked from other people's channels, because I don't have the capabilities of uploading all of this stuff. I don't have all the footage. So if anyone goes on that, you will see matches. Again, my match from last year, things I've done when I first started in 98, 99. There's stuff from when I worked with WSU as a ref, brief spots that I did, like when I got chopped in the ass by Josh Daniels. My idea, it hurt a lot. And even just like random other interviews that I've done, it's all featured on that playlist on my YouTube channel.
Right, and the link to host YouTube will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, and I'll get a solo link to the individual match in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox as well. For anybody that hasn't seen it, wants to see it, wants to re-see it after this. And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Ooh.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Oh boy. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Roddy Piper.
Worst wrestler.
Virgil.
You're managing the main event of WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who are you managing?
Rhea Ripley.
Oh yeah. If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Oh boy. Gangrel.
Oh yeah. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is
A dying art that needs to be brought back immediately.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast. Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
A green vegetable.
Are you conforming vegetable?
Yes! A green vegetable.
It is indeed a fruit. Yes, it has seeds, tomato logic.
Oh, gotcha.
New Japan Pro Wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
A little bit of cheek doesn't hurt, but a lot of bit of cheek just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Okay. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
In a supermarket? No. Outside of a hot dog place? Yes.
Could you elaborate?
Next to the tattoo shop, there's a hot dog place. And I was outside on my cigarette break, and the boss of the hot dog place came out with his friend, and he loves to go, "Hey, this is Fox. She's a wrestler." To which the guy went, "Do you watch AEW? Do you know who Darby Allin is?" I'm like, "Yeah, yes, I do." True story. True story.
And that is the correct answer. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me, Fox.
Oh, no problem. I had a blast.
Well, we like to keep it interesting for our guests. Could you please tell us once again where we can find all things Fox on social media?
Absolutely. So, again, my handle is the same on all social media outlets. So you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Viva Foxy Foxy. That's VIVA FOXY FOXXY.
I love how you Jeff Jarrett your name.
I have to. That's why I changed it as so much as I did, because I used to spell it with one X, then people would spell it with two, and then I started spelling it with two, and then they went back to one. So when I did Foxy Foxy, I'm like, you know what? Let's just do both. You can't mess it up. People still did, but you know.
I gotcha. And we can find merchandise in person.
Yes, at any Excite Wrestling event up in upstate New York.
All right. And you don't have to type it into your Google machine. All of the links to all her social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Give her a damn follow, and if you're in the Excite area, buy a damn shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, put on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Fail One Coffee. Join us tomorrow as we interview Honest John, and this upcoming Wednesday, Izzy B. And join us next week for Wrestling with Mania Madness Week. A lot of interesting things we're going to do next week for WrestleMania. Follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on Thread, X, and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, Fox, when I say Wrestling With, you say entertainment, okay?
Mm-hmm.
For our very special guest, Fox, Coleco Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling With
Entertainment!
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.